Welcome to the Random Onion. On today's edition of The List, we will be reviewing yet another Shark Week movie. This one being 2013, I think it is.
2012.
2012.
Actually, no, it's 2011 because the 2012 is the 3D version.
It is, 2011's Bait. Something I'm a master at.
Okay, so the poster of this movie looks like it's AI art.
I mean, it's 2011. That doesn't surprise me.
But it looks like if I use my AI app and I asked for a shark jumping through something, that's what it would create.
And who is in Bait 3D?
A bunch of people that I'm going to have a lot of trouble pronouncing their names.
Yeah, this is actually an Australian movie.
Yes, I was not expecting that. It is very Australian.
It's very Australian. Even some of the lines in it, you're like, okay, that's not something an American would say at all.
No.
All right, so cast-wise, we have Xavier Samuel as Josh. We're going to butcher the shit out of these names.
I think it's Sharni Vincent?
Vincent?
Vincent, there you go.
Venison? She's deer?
Vincent.
She's Josh's deer.
Tina. I honestly couldn't tell you who some of the characters in this movie actually are named. I know Josh because they said his name a bunch of times.
Yes, Josh. Adrian Pang as Jessup. I think he's the store manager.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Spoiler alert.
God, we're going to have some fun talking about this movie.
Ki Yulu as Stephen.
That's a pretty basic name for someone with that, for an actor.
It's like, name. It's a Y and then Ulu. Alex Russell as Ryan. And if I'm remembering correctly, okay, I do know who he is. Phoebe Tonkin as Jamie. Martin Sachs as Todd. And he is a police officer in this. Alice Parkinson as Naomi. Julian McMahon as Doyle. And if you guys know who Julian McMahon is, he's the guy who played Dr. Doom in the Fantastic Four movie. Not the really, really bad one, just the kind of bad one.
Are there any good ones?
No.
Okay.
Dan Wiley as Kirby, Damian Garvey as Collins, and the rest of these people probably either get eaten or killed by a flood. So...
Yeah. Interesting. I'm looking at the budget versus the box office of this movie. Considering how small this movie it actually didn't do terrible.
No, it was actually in line to get a sequel at one point in time. And the sequel was going to be about a plane en route from China to Australia crashing into the Pacific Ocean. But it was scrapped in March of 2014 due to uncomfortable similarities to the Malaysia Flight 370 incident.
Okay, I'm going to give what I think they should have done instead for a sequel to this movie. So, they're going to have a heist on an airplane. And for some reason, the entire coach is booked up. All of the coach section of this airplane is booked up by one person, and no one can see what's on that side of the plane. And all of first class is just filled with a bunch of rich fucking people. And then as they're flying, they realize that coach is full to the brim with water and sharks. And they open the doors, and it floods first class with water and sharks in the air.
Nice.
$1 million idea for a movie right there.
Oh yeah, once Random Onion Studios gets going, you guys just be prepared. We're gonna make some weird, shit.
So this movie, it had a $20 million budget, and worldwide it made $32.5 million. Which, considering I don't think we have to worry about the marketing on this movie, they actually made some money back.
Yeah, they did.
So that's not terrible.
I mean, it's to me, like, this movie, whenever I watched it, it gave me real, late night creature feature vibe, you know?
Yeah. This movie had some serious Sci-Fi Channel vibes
Yeah,
to me.
oh, no, it's a step above the Sci-Fi Channel. If you see the Sci-Fi Channel nowadays, oh
Oh, I haven't watched sci-fi since like 2005.
yeah, no. This if this came out in 2005, it probably would have been on the Sci-Fi Channel because that was back when the Sci-Fi Channel was like watchable.
Yeah.
Now it's all just Asylum stuff, and the Asylum is awful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've even heard of it actually.
Yeah, we will get to know the Asylum very well at some point.
Okay.
This movie, it opens with Josh, who's the main character, being woken up by his friend, and Josh is actually a lifeguard at this point in time. He's being woken up by a friend who is his fiance's brother.
Yes.
And
I gathered that much, and he was drunk off his ass in the car.
yeah, he's very, very hungover.
Yes.
So, I mean, the first scene of this movie is basically the fiance's brother is. I don't know what he's doing because he's a lifeguard. He's just going out there on a surfboard. He's not trying to rescue anybody, but
He's just dicking around out in the ocean, and there's another guy out there that he actually shows up. And it's like this old dude in a Speedo. And he runs out onto the beach, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go and swim in this ocean right now. And, of course, he's just shark fodder. So, so this old guy is the reason why they find out that there's a shark out there, because literally there is an explosion in the water of the shark attacking, and you can see the
yes.
But the brother out in the middle of the ocean is completely oblivious to this, even though it's happening right next to him. And the people on the beach can see it.
Right.
And this is, I have to say this, because the acting in this scene was absolutely hilarious. It's like the classic, he skits out there and he's trying to save him, and everyone's screaming, his sister's screaming on the shore, and he's screaming, and they're all saying no, and he like tries to pull him out of the water, and at the last second, oh no, he's gone.
Yeah.
And he literally screams, no!
Yeah. And it's like one of the worst CGI sharks I've ever seen in that scene as well. Because that thing just boom, and takes him.
The Om Nom Nom from Jaws was better.
But yeah, we get that shark attack, and then we cut to a few months later, or a year later, actually.
Is it a year? I was very curious as to how long it was.
Yeah, I think it says it in the movie. I don't remember. This movie was hard to watch.
I just watched this movie today, and I don't remember them saying how long it's been. So I know that they were going to move to was it Singapore or something? They were in Australia, and they were going to move to Singapore.
Yes.
And I'm assuming this movie takes place in Singapore.
It takes place in Australia.
It's still in Australia.
Yes.
Okay, so she goes to Singapore without
That's
him.
why she comes back. So he's working at the supermarket, and we get introduced to like all these characters who I honestly didn't give a crap about.
Yes.
And he's working. He's not a lifeguard anymore. He quit, or he got fired because he was hungover and someone got eaten by a shark. And Tina shows up, who was his fiance, and now she's got a new boyfriend that she brought back from Singapore. This guy named Steven.
Yes, new boyfriend guy.
Yeah, new boyfriend guy.
Which I was confused because I'm trying to figure out why they split up, because I didn't get the idea that they had wanted to split up in any way when I was watching the opening.
So what I gathered from the movie was that he felt really guilty about her brother dying, and he split up with her.
But that's kind of dumb.
This whole movie is kind of dumb.
So yes, she has new boyfriend guy, and there was another kid in this movie who was like the younger kid that ends up being trapped in the
Kapak.
The Kapak, yeah.
The Kapak.
And he's like dating this other girl, and I got the main character and him confused a bunch of times.
Yeah, they look exactly the same. But he's dating this girl who's like a thief.
Yeah.
And she's like constantly shoplifting from his job and gets him fired. And then her dad shows up, who's also a cop.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, I mean, I feel like that's a trope where if you have the daughter of a cop that, or even that's just the children of the cop, not necessarily the daughter, but they feel like they don't have to care about authority because their parents are,
You want some realism?
Yeah.
My dad was a cop. as I was growing up.
Yeah.
If I did anything wrong, he would have taken my ass to jail.
Was that suddenly there's a fucking heist going on?
Yeah. And it's Dr. Doom in some random dude, and it never shows the dude's face. For some weird reason, it doesn't show the dude's face at the beginning.
I thought the crazy dude in the rest of the movie was that guy.
He is.
Okay.
He is.
Because there was a plot. I remember seeing him floating in the water, and then suddenly there was just a crazy guy, and I just assumed it was him.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. But it's weird, though, because he didn't recognize him. It's like, you've been working with this dude for how long? You don't recognize him? What the fuck?
See, the thing is, he's always wearing a mask.
Yeah.
Whenever we do anything.
We're going out to dinner. I'm wearing a mask. Making sweet, sweet love. Mask. Yeah, the heist is going on, and the manager is just a complete douchebag in the store.
Yes. He is very much douchebag. He's all about the money.
Yeah. So they walk in to go rob the thing, and the safe ends up being empty.
I honestly half suspected that the safe was going to be filled with money.
Yeah.
And he was just trying to save his money and didn't want to get shot.
No, that safe was completely empty.
Yes. He got no money. Then he's like, where is the money? And then they start leading him. He starts leading him off. And the cop that's there to arrest his daughter, basically, notices. I mean, I don't see how he's the only one that did notice that there's a guy walking with a gun held to this guy's back.
Well, yeah, I get that. Well, the cop noticed him walking in. He saw him putting the gun, like, in his ass, I guess. Oh,
yeah, I heard that.
And he just he followed him in, which, I mean...
Hey, your ass is nature's pocket.
Yeah.
I'm going to give anyone 10 points if they know what that reference is from.
But the robbery, hey guys, the robbery ends up escalating because the partner decides to come in the middle of it, and he ends up killing someone. Mm. And then as all this is going down, we get the CGI tsunami.
So before we get to the tsunami, I wanted to say how surprised I was that some random woman just got shot. Mm-hmm. He was holding her hostage, and he actually killed her. I was like, this movie is surprisingly gory.
Oh yeah, we're not even at let's get to we get to the tsunami. Holy shit. My favorite part of the movie happens as soon as the tsunami is they see it coming, everyone on the beach is running, and that surfer's like, dude. He goes and runs out there.
He's running towards it. I mean, he's got a surfboard, so he might have the best way of surviving.
That made me laugh way harder than it should have. That was awesome.
Yeah, that dude he was like, this is my calling. I am going to surf this tsunami.
That was probably the best part of the movie by far. And then the tsunami hits, and it just looks awful.
It does. It looks terrible. There's just people running on the beach, and then the water just overtakes them, and it's like, okay, I get what they're trying to do here, but it looks so bad I can't believe it. Then they do a few shots where it's people running down hallways or something, and water's chasing them and throwing them around and stuff, and it's just bad.
But then we get some pretty interesting scenes once the tsunami actually hits the supermarket, like that lady who gets the propeller to the face.
I rewound that a couple times because I was like, how the fuck did that even happen?
It was so fun. I was watching that, and I saw that scene with my wife was sitting on the couch next to me, and the propeller hit that lady, and I'm like, ooh! And my wife almost dropped her phone. She was like, what? I was like, nothing, I'm watching a movie. God.
Oh my God. I saw that, and I was like, how? How did that happen? But yeah, then honestly, up to this point, if you if someone was watching this movie and they hadn't seen the poster, they didn't know the name, and they knew nothing about this movie, they might have thought this was just a plain old heist movie. And then the tsunami hits, and it's like all hell breaks loose. All this shit happens. And now we have, because there's also the people in the parking garage, because we have 3 different characters to care about, 4 different characters.
Yeah, that dumbass couple's stuck in that car.
Yes, and we're going to get to this because I The most important character in this entire movie is in the parking garage, and it is the dog.
Bully.
that is a very good dog. So the tsunami hits, and now we have all these people trapped in the supermarket
And
underwater.
they're on top of these shelving units with like coolers and shit. That's what it looks
It's like coolers, just shelves, basically.
Yeah. The first manner of business is what they try to do is they try to find a way out. And
Yes.
So everybody kind of like splits off and goes their own different ways to look for the thing, and one of the people gets like dragged under the water. Very soon.
There's because there's 3 people jump in the water to try and get to what they think would be exits, and then our lifeguard, who knows what to look for sharks, sees movement in the water, and he starts screaming for them to get out of the water. And the dopey dude, of course, is the first one to get killed because he doesn't know what's going on. Mm-hmm. And no, a great white shark has gotten into this store during the tsunami. And the shark has no damage on it. Like, it wasn't thrown into a wall or anything. It looks like it just basically kind of swam into the store.
Yeah. I'm going shopping.
It's going shopping for some lunch meat.
Yeah, it's real interesting. The first death in this movie, when the guy is like, he gets pulled under and then he's like trying to struggle with the shark, and he's like swims all the way to the refrigerator unit, and he's trying to like, I don't remember if it's Tina or one of the other girls is trying to help pull him up.
Yeah.
And the shark like kind of pulls him away, and his arm is just still there.
Yes.
And the rest of him is just getting pulled off.
Well, no, his head stays too.
Yeah, his head stays above the water and floats off.
And it floats away from his arm. And I remember watching it, I'm like, how the fuck did that happen?
I mean, it's if you didn't know it was a shark scene, like it's supposed to be a shark attack, it could be really interesting, but at the same time, it doesn't make any logical sense.
No. Because the water didn't even move when he was apparently bitten from the bottom of his neck and his arm. Mm-hmm. The water didn't even move, which the shark is big enough to do that to a human. You'd see the shark poking out of the water. But no, the shark is the most calm killer that's ever been in a grocery store. doesn't even mess around with the water most of the time.
And then they figure out that there is a broken wire hanging from the ceiling.
Yes.
And it's like doing the whole, it's going to electrocute them.
Yes.
I think they describe it as the whole store's going to go up like a French fry or some shit like that.
Yeah. A fun fact about electricity is that electricity actually doesn't travel in water very well. It travels through salt water. It's the salt, because that's why if you're in water, when electricity hits it, the fact that your body is full of salt, it's a really good conductor. Mm-hmm. That's actually what kills you. The water itself doesn't actually carry electricity very well.
Right.
Which is funny because in popular media, how often you see electricity in water.
So they get the idea. It's like, okay, well, we need to turn off the power, and they make like a shark suit for Steven out of, it looks like grocery carts. I can't tell.
It's
honestly.
Grocery carts and zip ties. I saw the zip ties holding it together.
Yeah.
And they weigh it down with cans of food, and. Because our lifeguard guy wants to be the one to volunteer to go turn the electricity off.
But he's bleeding.
Yes, because we've seen, there's a few times that we've seen them looking back for us. So we haven't really mentioned his fiance. The one thing I have to say about her is there's a ton of times where she's just looking off center of camera and looking worried. That is her entire character.
Yeah. That, and she very clearly wants Josh back, and she's just dating Steven. Like,
yes. And he saw that he was about to be friend zoned, and he was like, "I'm not gonna be friend zoned by this woman."
And so also they got like snorkeling gear for Steven. He's got like the goggles on, and then they had this big tube for him to breathe out of, yes. Which doesn't make any sense to me because you still have to breathe out of that tube and breathe in, and the tube is like 30 fucking feet long. I
thought the exact same thing, but then when they show him under the water, he's got a mask on that allows his breath out one side. Because you can see bubbles coming out of one side, and he's still trying to breathe through a fucking 100-foot tube is not easy. Yeah. You're still not going to get not going to get enough air. But his breath is actually going out to the other side. Because I thought the exact same thing.
But yeah, he volunteers and he goes, and the shark actually bumps into him at one point because the shark sees him and just bumps into him, and it doesn't do anything.
It's like, what the fuck is this thing?
Yeah. And
is it Optimus Prime?
so he goes into the room, and the tube is not long enough.
It's actually worse than that. The tube is not long enough, so he's like trying to pull on it, and they obviously our lifeguard guy Josh is holding it and trying to stop him from going any further. If you would simply look down, you'd notice he could walk forward like another 10 feet and give him another 10 feet of space.
And then so he's just like, fuck it, and loses the tube.
Yes.
And turns the power off, and then realizes he needs air and starts to drown. And as he's starting to drown, he tries to like kick himself up to take a breath.
Yeah.
But the box they put on his head hits the ceiling and keeps him underwater.
Yes, this is a crazy fucking day. Because it's literally, this is like the Darwin Awards of death in a movie. This person has graciously removed himself from the gene pool. Because I understand he's drowning and all that, but two things. Well, it's one of those stupid things, because not only did he throw the mask off, so he has no way of getting the water, but the dickheads back there are pulling the mask back with no resistance. They're like, oh, we're just going to bring this mask back. Like, it's not like he needs it anymore. We don't want to leave it there, so he might be able to find it and start breathing again. We want to pull it back, because fuck this guy.
My favorite, though, is Josh's reaction to the whole thing. He pulls the mask back and it's empty. He goes, oh no, he's gone. And that is it. No one cries. No one cares. Tina, who's been dating this guy, is like, okay, well, cool. Guess we don't have to worry about the competition now.
They had to delete this guy. But he manages to turn the water off, and he unfortunately drowns. Because everyone here is an idiot. But
and then because in movies like this, that's what they're all about. It's like, is the shark eating people scene? It's like,
yeah, and this is one well-fed fucking shark. Man.
Yeah,
And it's not even that big of a shark, but it's got multiple humans in its stomach.
Yeah, and because it's been eating the dead bodies in the store. The next death is the manager. And they're like, okay, so we're gonna lift you up using this rope, and you're gonna go into the air vent and try to get on the roof and get us help. And he's like, okay, well, let's go do it. And then they lift him up, and he gets to the air vent, and he opens the air vent. And this motherfucker gets attacked by a swarm of crabs.
I'm gonna say, this is probably the most Australian scene, because living outside of Australia, we don't regularly get attacked by crabs. But in Australia, what you don't know is every now and then, just as you're minding your own business even, you'll get attacked by a swarm of crabs out of nowhere.
And there were a ton of them too, and they just come flying down the thing, and they come all over you. And he's like, he freaks out and like lets go and falls a little bit, and they catch him, and the crabs all fall out into the water, and he's like, oh no, I got it, I can still do it. And he grabs up, and he's trying to pull himself into the air vent, and then the shark jumps out of the water and eats the lower half of him.
I was laughing so hard when that happened. The shark is like, yep, yoink.
Ooh.
Oh my god.
And then we go to the parking garage.
Yeah, because in this parking garage, I have to say, these cars that they're in are remarkably watertight. Because the car that the couple is in is like bone dry. They're bone dry in that car. And the van that gets flipped over during the tsunami that the other guy is in,
None of the windows cracked at all.
Yeah, but he's soaking wet.
And he has to like poke the window with a screwdriver to get it to break, and lets all the water in. Then
yeah, which is actually what, if you're in a car that's going underwater, you're actually supposed to break the window to get more water in it, because then you can get out.
Yeah, but I'm gonna call him Discount Josh.
Yes.
So Discount Josh and the couple, they're out there, and at one point, Ryan has to help the couple escape or Discount Josh has to help the couple escape their car.
There's a few scenes where the shark is like bashing into their car.
Yeah.
And then swimming around.
And it's funny because it's not the same shark as the one that's in the store. This is a completely different shark got washed into the parking garage.
Yes, this is a different shark.
This movie, what the fuck?
Our one guy, he gets out of his van, he gets on top of some stuff. They notice the shark, and the shark is attacking other people. And she does some shit. She basically pulls like a Ray before Ray was a thing and rips some shit apart and does some stuff, and then the sunroof opens.
Yeah.
And
why didn't she do that earlier?
As a mechanic, I can tell you that was bullshit. It's... They're on top. Eventually, they're on top of the car, and the guy is trying to help them get away from the car. For some reason, he wants to get them away from their car and onto his van, which is upside down.
Yes,
that's the goal. And he's going to distract the shark, and so they can swim over. And he cuts like a dude's hand off, a dead person's hand off.
And he's like putting it into the water, and the shark's like, "Ooh, what's that?"
And then the shark that's the thing, is thrashing around in water attracts the shark, so it's going to attract it more than the blood.
It's funny though, because the couple, they're running to the van. The dude has got the dog, and they're trying to get on the van, and he's like, "Sorry, bully," and throws the dog out into the water.
He throws the dog out into the water, and at that point, I was like, this motherfucker needs to die.
He dies like 2 seconds later, doesn't he?
He dies very quickly after that. And I was thankful as hell when he died.
And the acting in the scene is so bad. He's like, "Oh, well, sorry, bully," and tosses the dog.
They get on there, and she's all mad at him because he's a dog murderer, and that's worse than a people murderer, which I agree with.
Oh my god, this movie.
So our other guy, I don't even know where he was trying to get, now that I'm thinking about it, but he decides he's going to go across the ceiling on these pipes. And so he drops the flashlight and has to get the flashlight out. That was the scene they felt like was necessary to include, that he dropped the flashlight. So he has the flashlight, he's going across the pipes, and at some point he slips and falls. Or falls into the water, and the shark starts getting him. But he gets to the car, and he gets up on the van, and then the act of him getting on the van knocks the dog murderer off into the water. Okay. And that's how the dog murderer dies, while they're trying to get him out. Which marks the third time that someone has been trying to pull someone out of the water in this movie as they get killed by a shark.
So... And I think that he figures out a way to signal his girlfriend at one point that they're in the car park too by banging on some pipes.
He does some Morse code.
Yeah. So back inside the supermarket, the main robber guy, who's supposed to be like the robber guy with the heart of gold or whatever, he's doing it because his brother's got some problems.
Yeah.
It doesn't explicitly say. He comes up with a plan to catch the shark, which involves them attaching a big piece of meat to a hook and throwing it in the water and trying to tie it off. However, the plan doesn't go right because one of the dudes in there is kind of been going crazy the entire movie. And then you find out that he's actually the other robber. Yes.
I remember, because they showed this guy, I honestly thought he was just doing a really bad Australian accent. Mm-hmm. The crazy guy.
Half of them didn't even use Australian accents in the movie. They just went back to their American accents.
So they want to catch the shark, and they see a hook. And our cop guy, who's been hurt he was hurt during the tsunami.
Yeah,
his leg got hurt.
His leg got penetrated.
Yeah, he's going to try to get the hook. But before he has a chance to, his daughter tries to save him by jumping in the water to go get the hook before he has a chance to do it. And she manages to get the hook back to them. And the hook and the chunk of meat, but it does not work because the shark doesn't give a shit because it's got plenty of fresh meat.
And so some stuff happens. A woman gets tossed into the water. They get her out of the water. And then Dr. Doom ends up stabbing the guy in the back. Yes. And then using him as live bait.
Because he wanted to use the daughter as live bait.
Was it the daughter or the other girl who worked at the store?
The daughter or I don't remember. All the women just meld into one being in this movie.
Yeah, most of the characters except for Josh and the cop and Dr. Doom to me are like interchangeable.
Pretty much. It's just the woman that was there at the time.
And the dog murderer, he's special because
The dog murderer is dead.
yeah.
So yeah, he stabs him and then uses the crazy dude as the live bait because he wanted to use the girl as the live bait, and to save her, he stabs him.
But surprisingly, for like a shark movie, that plan actually works.
Yeah,
It works, and that's what enables them to go to the garage. Like the three people, or was it two of them that go into the garage?
Yeah, I think it's two of them get to the garage, and they do a little bit of sciencey stuff because they're like they have to close, one door to before
So
they can open the
don't
other one,
flood
so they don't
rest of
flood the
garage.
basement. Yeah,
Which, I mean, that's clever. That's
yeah,
one of the only clever things in this movie.
it's science.
But yeah, so they go downstairs to the garage, and they somehow end up at the cop's car and get the shotgun, and they're trying to deal with the shark the whole time. And Josh ends up shooting the shark in the head with a shotgun.
I was like, this is okay. So have you ever played? I know you haven't played video games, but have you played? There's a game Far Cry 3.
I've heard of it.
So that Far Cry 3, I know for anyone else out there, Far Cry 3 was the last of the Far Cry games that I played. I didn't play anything past that. But the way you get upgrades to some of your stuff is you have to hunt animals, and the way that you get the final upgrade to your wallet is you need bull shark skin. So I remember I was playing that game, and I was just out in the middle of the ocean on a rock, and I was just taking pot shots at bull sharks because I needed their skin so I could upgrade my wallets. And that's what this scene made me think of.
Yeah, no, he blew that fucker's brains out. And the cool thing, like, one of the cooler things about that scene was it shows it from above the water, and you just see blood go flying up in the air.
Also, I have to give props to the slow-mo jump he did into the water. The sideways slow-mo jump.
He went from being like skinny lifeguard to just an action hero all of a sudden, too.
He did some Max Payne shit
Yeah.
there.
So that's one shark down, one demon fish to go, as LL Cool J would say. And so they go upstairs, and as they're going upstairs, aftershocks happen, and the shark gets loose. After everyone has already gotten into the rubble, I guess.
Yeah, because there's like a car that's peeking through the door or something. And that's where they're getting up to. And
fucking Dr. Doom wants to blow it up to clear the way. And some stuff happens. The motherfucker tases the shark.
I remember, because they did a whole fucking slow-mo bullet time shot with the fucking prongs from the taser.
He takes the shark.
I don't know the science on that. What would happen if you actually tried to tase? Would it do anything to the shark?
I don't know. Someone let us know in the comments if anyone actually watches this.
Yes.
So yeah, they tase the shark. I forgot. I watched this movie yesterday and I already forgot how they kill it because I know it wasn't just the taser.
I'm fairly certain it's the taser that kills it.
No, he does. He kills it with the fucking taser.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm pretty sure it's the taser that kills it, that kills the shark.
Oh my god.
So it's actually something I've really noticed with media that's made in other countries, because we're Americans, and guns are just part of the culture here.
Yeah.
They just really are. I mean, even though I know fucking nothing about guns, I bet you I know a shit ton more than a lot of people in Australia.
And I mean, we're recording this in Texas. I know you're not from Texas, but I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
I have several.
Hey, Colorado, where I'm from, definitely loves its guns. I mean, definitely, probably not as much as Texas. Actually, Wyoming, I think, has the most guns per person.
It's Alaska.
It's Alaska?
It's Alaska.
Okay. Alaska makes sense. You got bears and wolves up there.
Yeah. In Texas, you got...
There's been a couple of bugs in my backyard I felt like I needed a shotgun for.
Oh, don't even get me... You know, Texas is like, has the second or third highest population of like exotic creatures
Yes, I do know.
because people kept them as pets and
there's-
release them.
There's no laws in Texas about how many tigers that you can own in captivity.
Yeah.
So there are more tigers in captivity, but owned by private people in Texas, than there are tigers in the wild.
Yeah, and there are probably several tigers in the wild in Texas too because people like to release them.
Yes. That is a thing. Welcome to America.
How we just got carried away on a tangent.
Yeah. Okay, so they tase the shark to death, which is apparently that works. That's like, all right, we need to end the movie, so tase it. It's done.
Blow up the truck.
Blow up the truck, and they start getting out, and some fucking PS1 helicopters show up. And
I zoned out for all of this.
they're just flying around, and they're acting like this is a world-ending event, and it's not just a tsunami that hit this one area of the world. They act like it's a world-ending event, and they ask. I think it's the old his ex-fiance asks our main character guy, "Well, what are we gonna do now?" or "What are you gonna do now?" or something like that, and he just says, "I'm gonna move on." And then we follow the helicopters, and then there's a CGI bird.
And then a CGI shark.
That's fucking shark.
If they wanted to do a sequel, if they really wanted to do a sequel to this, and they wanted to do it like bigger than the other one, what I would do is I would make it take place just in the flooded city in general, with the sharks.
Yeah.
Like a rescue team's trying to rescue people, and a shark's just nom nom nomming. But yeah, that is bait.
This is one of those things. It's like I can enjoy a bad movie just for the fun of it. Like I laughed a lot at this movie.
Yeah, I did too.
Why is it that it's so hard to get a really good monster movie? Like, I mean, straight up just good writing, good monsters, good, like, logical and everything. It's so hard to find it.
I agree.
Because this is...
And some of the ones that are well written have terrible special effects.
Yes. Like I said, I have recently reread, because I've read it a few times, I recently reread Jurassic Park, the novel. And the novel is really good, and it made me really want to watch the movie.
It's funny because the novel seems more like a horror than anything.
It is.
to me.
It's more horror. The science in the novel is fucking bonkers, but it's the novel itself. It's definitely more of a horror. There's definitely a lot more. There, I found it very preachy. Like there's characters that are very preachy. Like Malcolm.
Oh yeah.
Is very preachy. Anywho's, we're getting on another tangent. I can talk about that. I'm excited for us to do the Jurassic Parks because I can talk about that first movie for a while.
Yeah, first movie is fucking god tier. Shall we get to the scoring?
Yes. I'm gonna get another beer. ASMR. I have said this wrong a couple of times in our previous videos that we've released, but I will say it correctly this time to set the stage as soon as I find my scores. So, as always, we will score this movie based on a series of 9 categories. The categories can be scored anywhere from 0 to 100, 0 being the lowest, 100 being the highest. And we will begin with plot.
So for this movie, I felt the premise was interesting, but I mean, other than that, it's very meh to me. There's a lot of dumb shit that happens, but again, like it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. So I gave plot a 53.
We very much agree because I would say this plot it's not the dumbest plot that I've ever seen, but it is dumb. The premise of I can't get over how fucking stupid the idea of sharks in a grocery store. when you texted me and you said that it was about the sharks in the grocery store, I was like, the fuck? So I ended up giving plot a 24. Next up is the story structure.
Like I said, a lot of dumb shit happens in this movie. Adam hasn't seen The Asylum yet, so he doesn't know what rock bottom is.
I will see it eventually, I suppose.
Yeah. I gave story a 45.
So I actually gave the story a higher score than the plot because I felt that the plot was stupid, but the story, they had something to tell, kind of. It was still bad, but I ended up giving story structure a 39. Next up is the characters.
So the characters for this, very one-dimensional. There's only one character that I really even remotely close to liked. That being said, the characters aren't horrible. They're not good either. They're really, really not good. They're just bad.
Yeah.
So I gave characters an F. I gave it a 40.
Actually, we have to go back because there's a very important thing that I forgot to say because it's the most important character. All of the points in my characters category are for this character, and that is the dog survived.
Bully?
The dog fucking survived.
Yeah.
They find the dog. The dog murderer died. He wasn't a dog murderer, so I guess he's a dog attempted murderer. But the dog survived, and all of the points in characters are for that dog. I gave it a 13. There are characters in this movie, like I said, our ex-fiance character, all she does is just stare slightly off camera and look worried constantly. And I can't begin to name other characters. Even our main character, the cop character, Dr. Doom, whatever his name is, I no.
Very forgettable characters. It's not.
13 is for the dog. The dog got 100%. I love the dog. All right, next up is world building.
World building. See, for this one, I didn't really know what to score it.
Neither
honestly,
did I.
Because there's not really a world built here. So it's I don't want to fault them for that. So, but there's not really anything to. I just gave it a 50.
I can see that.
I
very much played with the idea of giving it a 50 as well because I was like, what can I say? Because that's the idea is 50 is either I have nothing good or nothing bad to say, or I have an equal amount of good and bad things to say. It's an average. So I had to think of what could I say that was good about it, what could I say that was bad. It's all right, tsunamis exist. Tsunamis are a dangerous thing, and it even shows it that the water goes out first and then it comes in, and that's just real life. It's not necessarily world building, but it's showing that this movie operates off of more real life logic and mechanisms. But then you have sharks going through all this and then just managing to survive and live and go into this grocery store and start eating people.
Right.
So the world building got less than an average for me, but not a horrible score of 37.
Okay.
Next up is the acting.
The acting in this movie just sucks. Let's be real. It's not Asylum sucks, and that's why I didn't give it a 20 or 30. But it's not good. There's nothing good to say about it. The only character I thought was even remotely close to well acted was probably the dad. And
I would argue that the dog did better.
Adam really likes
He's going to tell me to shut up here in a second.
But yeah, I gave acting a 40. I still gave it an F.
I hated the acting in this movie. It's when it started off with the guy on the jet ski yelling "No." So many of my references go back to Futurama, and that's what that reference was from earlier. It was a Futurama reference. But there's another one where there's a character in Futurama that's an actor, and there's a random scene where he's in an interview, and he's they show a clip of him yelling "No," and then it cuts back to him sitting at the interview, and it says, "Funny story about that. I was supposed to say yes." I decided to mix it up on
that sounds like some shit Futurama would do.
But that being said, the acting in this movie I couldn't find. The only acting I legitimately I love the dog. The dog is the best. I'm not even memeing about that. I really love the dog. So all of the points are for the dog at a 10. I gave the acting a 10.
Damn. Adam is definitely going to have some zeros when we get to Sharknado.
Next up is the special effects.
Special effects in this movie. So I was torn on this because there are some stuff that I liked. You said it earlier when we were talking about it. You like the set design. Like the supermarket's cool.
Yeah.
It's definitely interesting. That being said, the shark is horrible. They didn't even use a puppet. I think they had one interesting shark shot to me, and I was towards the end where they actually use a puppet.
Yes, there was one. I remember thinking, "Oh my god, that's a puppet."
Yeah.
when I saw that.
But the CGI sharks are terrible. But so all the points I'm giving it are more based on the set design than anything else. Like you were saying earlier, I gave it a 47.
So we have, like I said, like I brought up, I talked about it earlier. I completely agree on that. Like the set design is the main thing that I give it special effects, any props for, because there's so much else that's bad. When the shark smacks into their car when they're under the water, then the crack on the glass, that is straight up a PNG. That is a JPEG that they plopped over that glass. It looks terrible, and that glass is not thick enough to have that kind of crack in it. The special effects, all the points are for the practical sets that they're in. I gave special effects a 21. Next up is the score, or the music.
I'm going to be completely honest. I don't remember any of the music from this movie. That being said, there was some stuff that I think right after I watched it, I kind of was like, my thought was, all right, some of the music didn't seem like it was that bad. But like I said, I don't really remember it. So I kind of stuck with that, like, okay, it's average. If I thought it wasn't that bad, then I'll give it a 55.
I just watched this movie today, and I remember multiple times thinking, what the fuck is this music choice? What the fuck is this? And then it gets to the ending credits, and just like Deep Blue Sea, they try to have a shark-themed song, and it is really freaking bad. I'm glad it wasn't in the rest of the movie. I remember listening to it, I'm just like, what in the actual fuck?
Yeah, I didn't stick around for the credits.
The music during any of the action scenes is just so fucking over the top, and it's... I have no... I'm trying to justify the score I gave it. I gave it a 2.
Damn!
I don't even know what those 2 points are for, honestly. I could have
having
given it
music.
0. It physically had music in the movie. I suppose that's what those 2 points are for.
I've given some zeros out already, so...
I'm sure I will. I have an area that I tend to stay in as far as scores are concerned.
There is a movie on my list that got an 11, and there's a movie on my list that got a 9, and they are both shark movies. Both of them are shark movies about megalodons, which is my favorite breed of shark.
Yes.
One of them is called Shark Attack 3 Megalodon. You've heard me say this a few times. That movie got a few zeros. The other one is called Megalodon Rising, and it is an asylum movie, and it got a 9. But it made me laugh really hard.
All right. So, next up is the cinematography.
So, for cinematography, I have no excuse. I don't know why I gave it this score, but I gave it a 55.
This was another one just like world building where I didn't know how to score this.
Yeah.
But I also had to think about the PS2 helicopters at the end. And
I'm going to be completely honest. I completely zoned out for that. I was sitting there like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Like every shot where the shark is underwater and it just looks awful, and then it's like swimming up to try and grab someone, but then it cuts to them being out of the water, being pulled out of the water, and the shark doesn't even breach the surface. Like if you follow the actual shot, the shark should breach the surface as to where the person is, but it never does. The water is completely calm because it's obvious that they cut it there to try to make it look like that. It was awful. So I had to give more negative points. So I ended up giving cinematography a 30.
Okay.
Because, like I said, I like the practical shots. A lot of the shots where they're just in and talking. All right, our last category, and this is the most important category, is the fun category.
So, fun with this movie. All things considered, there are a lot of stuff I don't like about this movie. That being said, I did have fun watching parts of it. Not enough fun to justify giving it like a 60 or 70. But that being said, the scenes I liked. I gave fun of 53.
This movie at least made me laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, it It wasn't like a deep belly laugh where I found something absolutely amusing and funny. It was just a what the fuck is happening laugh.
Agreed.
But at least I laughed. I will probably never watch this movie again.
I hope I don't have to watch this movie again.
Unless, okay, if this video gets 1,000 likes, we will do a live recording watching this movie.
This video isn't going to get 100 views. What the fuck are you talking about?
This is like 5 years in the future if people are coming back to find our old content. And they realize that we offered 1,000 likes and we will record ourselves watching this movie.
I hope people in the future don't come back and watch this.
Fun. I said I'm never going to watch this movie again. I gave it a 40.
Okay.
I was like, I at least had some fun watching it, but it's definitely not a movie I'll ever revisit.
Right. So that brings my final score to a 48.66. And what about you?
My final score got a even 24. 24.00.
Which brings our average score to a 36.33. So let's see here. Where does it place on the list? It's last.
Yeah, it's going to be last. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be.
So, yeah, out of the 16 movies we've graded, and keep in mind these aren't coming out in order, Bait is ranked at number 16.
I'll tell you right now, the list that I'm looking at and what the people are seeing on screen right now, it is dead last of all the movies.
Yeah. I mean, this is the list I'm staring at.
Yep, it is indeed dead last. How did Solo score that high?
I don't know. Solo's going to be an interesting video because we talked about that movie for, what, an hour and a half?
I've listened to our raw recording of that movie a couple times, and it's really interesting to listen to.
Because we just run out of energy, like dead center of it, because it's so bad. It's such a bad movie.
It is such a bad movie. I'm excited to get that video out, actually.
Anyways, before we go, I did say we were going to do this. Watching this Bait movie, what would you have done differently?
I would have had it on the plane, like I was talking about at the beginning of the movie. It would have made more sense. Instead of snakes on a plane, you got sharks on a plane.
Honestly, I think what I would have done is made the water a bit clearer and used practical sharks.
Yeah, if they had used practical sharks, this movie would have gone way up.
Yeah,
honestly.
100%.
The CG that they used was that was the wrong thing to do.
Yeah, no, definitely. Clear up the water, use practical sharks. And I get that it's a tsunami, so the water's going to be kind of murky.
Yeah. You
could still use practical sharks. I mean, you're also in a grocery store. You could have the lights on. You could see into the water. I mean,
yeah.
It would have been really easy to make this movie good, and that's what kind of disappoints me about this. This movie could have been really, at least really, really, really fun.
I feel like none of the actors were having a blast with this movie. Like I didn't feel like anyone really had their heart in.
Yeah, Dr. Doom just seemed bored the entire time.
So it's like one of those things, like just doing something to bring those actors, because you need to have someone that's chewing the scenery and having a fucking blast making the movie, even if it's an awful dog shit movie. You need to have that, and that's like where a lot of other movies find it. Like if Nicolas Cage had been the cop.
If that would have happened, then he would have had to have been the one to kill the shark, or I would have given it a 0.
You know what's a surprisingly good movie that has Nicolas Cage as a voice actor is The Croods.
Yeah, no, that was a decent movie. I remember watching it when I was younger.
Even the second one's actually pretty good.
Anyways, well, thank you guys for watching. Please remember to like, subscribe, and as always, look for our feet finder.
Yep. Don't forget to comment.
Yeah, do that too.
Comment about the noises that we make. I'm gonna come.
This has been The Random Onion.